Okay, well, Bruce, you want to ask Crystal a question next? Good to have you. Bruce is in Nanaimo. He's been guiding us in remote viewing for 10 months. He's a remote viewing teacher.
Crystal, what I was hoping is that you could sort of give us a bit of a grounding point for people when they do meditations into this stuff, because you brought up two important areas. One was to do with like a remote viewing, astral projection, psychic kind of connection. The other one that you talked about was also where you go into the matrix or whatever it is to actually manifest or change your reality. So one's a reading, one's actually a projection of your expression, of your energy, of your creativity, of something. Do you have sort of, and the problem I find with these things is, especially with the remote viewing, is getting sort of a reference that you're actually connecting in, some kind of anchor. I'm visualizing the candle or something.
Well,
So therefore you're then at least getting into that energy, that headspace that you're connecting for an imaging of just a simple thing. With the reality business though, because I've seen it where things pop in and out, I lose my car keys or something like that. I see something and I'm pretty sure it was a different name in the past than what I remember. So then you're getting evidence of this happening. So if that is the case, then that's coming out. How can you kind of anchor yourself to sort of get a reference, a benchmark, a rule book, the goalposts? They don't move. So therefore, if I do see other things moving, I can at least bring myself back to, center and go, okay, this is for sure. Then I can see other things as they're progressing. And I guess the thing is it isn't so much just to sort of, it's to get more trust, more evidence that this is actually happening, so that, then you get more comfortable with it. It becomes more and easier to kind of go into it. If you kind of know what I mean. I know this is a bit of a tall order and you probably have a whole program, dedicated to this question.
No, but it's a great question. It's a great question. And so I guess we've been lucky. A lot of the hybrids and star seeds. Some of us, we have these guides that show up to teach the lessons, and they anchor us while they're teaching us in these really high level quantum fields. So they'll anchor us so like the information comes through them to us. But we're still in another dimension. We're still visually through the third eye seeing the dimension, being shown the visual things, but the information is coming through telepathically, and they're grounding us. They always stand to your right. They always stand on your right. I know my teachers. I know their energy signature, and I also know what they look like too. And so there's just certain protocols that we follow when we are when I'm being shown, and I know they do it with lots of other people. And so we just asked for the specific protocol. I noticed it over time that it was always the same. So he always stands to my right. He's robed. His name is Enoch. He's one of my most profound teachers, and he takes me to these places. So he'll take me there. He takes me there. When we go to sleep, a lot of us are starting to experience another world outside of our bodies. So we're just out. We're automatically we're being brought there, or we're going there and then we're meeting our teacher there. But I think a lot of us are being brought there. I think this is really intentional, really focused teaching. So I'm not sure how they're getting. That's the one thing, an anchoring point during remote viewing or meditation is something that we have control over. But this is being brought. It's I feel like I'm being brought somewhere. So not necessarily within 100% my control, but being taught little step by step.
So just look for a pattern of behavior, a pattern of expression that repeats itself to at least, maybe some kind of pattern, some kind of recognition, some type of, I'm in that space again. I did it last time because I think the Monroe Institute did this when they have their hemi-sync gateways. They'd have you do a focus 10, 12, 21, 27. And their little thing was to actually, when you're in that headspace, you literally visualize a 12 with a circle around it. Therefore, when you're actually meditating again and you're visualizing the 12, the assumption is your brainwave pattern is actually, you know, in that space again. Right.
Yeah.
I kind of found that a bit. I was just curious if you had seen, and this was for their psychic remote viewing stuff. But, you know, when you're sort of seeing the, you know, three, what do you call it? Realities merging, or at least transecting somehow, you know, then you sort of get lost in them. You're thinking, okay, which one am I in? Which one do I want to go into? And, you know, a part of that, also that expression with the realities, with creating it, is giving the person enough evidence that yes, they actually did make some change, and we can go into it deeper and deeper and deeper and, you know, keep changing it. Because if you're not given that reinforcement, the interest in it dropped off pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so that's the danger I found with a lot of this stuff, is that you have to at least have some type of positive feedback to this. You
And
know,
what kind of feedback are you getting? Like, are you getting feedback when you're, say you're remote viewing something? How are you getting feedback? Like, how are you getting confirmation? I guess, do you have like something that you know is like a confirmation in reality in 3D sign?
It's sort of multifaceted. One of the concepts is that, yes, you're on target. I could see the vase. That was the target, vase.
Okay.
The other thing is also you're getting results that kind of surprise you a bit. Then you go, oh my God, yes, it was a vase, but I was actually, you know, this form. I thought it was a woman's body or something, you know, where my mind went. So then you can see how your mind was doing that, which is a surprise in itself. Then it reinforces, oh my God, I was actually really seeing it.
Right.
And so I think that kind of is huge, because if we're not given these things, if we want people to go and manifest reality to the version 3, where we are living in harmony and, you know, without fear and stuff like that, you have to at least have some kind of, you know, positive recognition that yes, this was part of the game plan. This is happening. Here's another little tidbit. Yes, we're on the path. And I think that's unfortunately not being given enough in these situations. And, you know, especially when you get divergent messages. Your messages today, though, are pretty much what I've seen.
Okay.
I intuitively felt them. I wasn't sure between 3 or 2 and 3 where we're at, but I still had a hedging towards 3, which is funny that you said that's where we're at. And you had a bit more detail in this. You know, some of the stuff was flushed out a bit more than I thought, but, you know, at least, you know, are we dragged along with that? Or is this something that we collectively started thinking towards and we went there? And that's huge, because, you know, are we still passive in this stuff? Are we still victims of this? Or are we actually creating this? And if we are creating it, it would be really helpful. And I'm not tossing this on your shoulders. Forgive me if I am. That's why I kind of wanted some help from you to help me to tell other people what maybe we can look towards or hang on to, that we actually are making progress. You know?
Yeah, we shouldn't be afraid to ask. Like, the one thing about the multidimensional beings that we work with is that they don't do anything for us. So we always have to ask. So I had to ask, will you communicate with me clearly? Will you send me signs? Will you send me an anchor when I'm channeling? Will you send me something that is in reality that I know now that you're here? And they do. They sent owls. And in many of my channeling sessions, I have owls show up outside of the window. You can actually hear them. So they sent me 2 owls. Can you show, you know, and it's like, you can get super specific. Like, can you show me a blue triangle? Can you show me what you look like and what's your name? And you just ask like really specific questions and they will do it. They will show up in your, and usually in your dream space first. Like I had somebody, this is how multidimensional my life is becoming. I had someone messaging me randomly, somebody that I didn't even know, about moths, and like powerful messages about moth energy, and was woken up at 3:33 a.m. last night with a giant moth in my room. And it was like, it was just like so multidimensional, like being messaged about moths by someone, I think it was the wrong number. I don't know who it was. Being shown pictures of moths, told powerful messages about moths, and then having a moth wake me up at 3:33 a.m. And so that's the multidimensional reality that we are advancing towards quickly, and we're doing it collectively. So it's like a quickening, like for everyone. So
I have to admit, I think that's probably why women make better intuitives than men, because anytime I got results, I'd have to go show them to my wife. She could easily see what I was seeing.
I think that's true. That's true.
And
My
so she'd
experience.
go, you missed this. Like,
yeah, there's a reason for that right now. I'll tell you about that after though.
but anyway, I just, anyway, thanks for your perspective. I just thought maybe you had the key to the cosmic universe.
You have the key. Everyone's key is different.
It's good to ask, Bruce. It's good we're having this discussion, It's good to talk about these things.
And that's the thing, is we each have a different perspective. And if we're all looking at the same elephant in the dark room, the key thing is to start asking more and more people for their perspective on it. And hopefully we can get the answer at some point. And that's the weird thing, is I started finding that if you start asking more and more people, if we spread it out, if we don't focus on one guru who has the answer, we actually start collectively rising up as a whole together. Like, that's why I say in the remote view group that you all can do this. This isn't just something that some special person does. And yeah, I guess I'm always looking for some answer to, give someone some hard evidence to hang on to. Anyway, thank you.
We're sharing. We're also sharing, like we're all working as a collective. It's not like just one of us has all the answers, but when we come together, we have each a little piece of this crazy 10th dimension puzzle that, we each just put our little piece there, and they start like forming these bigger pictures. And I think that's why the ETs are giving each of us a little bit to share, because it would just overwhelm one person or two or a couple people, just be way too much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I could bring Kathy on next, since Cynthia's been on before, and then Cynthia after that. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, thank you. Even though I raised hand after Cynthia, I just want to ask like small questions. Like, for example, did they tell you when would be the first contact between human and ET? I just want to know, will I miss it? Like, I don't want to miss it this live. Like, do you know?
I think it'll be over the next 2 to 10 years.
Perfect. So I will live to see it.
Yes. We're all going to be here for this.
Awesome. I'm so happy. Also, like I'm trying to do astral projections, because I keep seeing that on TikTok, and I know I feel like, I don't know why, I just feel like I want to do it, but at the same time I'm trying to listen to those meditations before I sleep, during I sleep, when I'm awake. It's just, I've never done it. I just didn't succeed. So I don't know, like, and also like I always remember my dreams. Like I have dreams every day, so many different types. Sometimes it's good, but a lot of the times it was like pretty dark and scary. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but it's not sleep paralysis, but it's like, for example, people chasing me. I killed someone by accident. I killed someone on purpose, and there's like blood everywhere. I was in like a murder house. I was in and people, like a crackhead was just chasing me like randomly. from like a faraway place to like a city downtown, and I don't know why. Like,
Oh.
yeah, do you have any idea why I'm not going where
Yeah,
I want to go?
I mean,
My dream?
I think that a lot of us have experienced these types of like what we call interference dreams. So where there's something else that's like driving the narrative of the dream. So it's like putting you in situations where you are scared or reacting negatively. And I think that it's that parasitic multidimensional beings that I've talked about, like it's what we call a loosh operation. So they feed off of people's negative energy, and they will do it in a multidimensional way. So they'll do it while you're sleeping. Usually if you're a starseed, a light worker, or someone who's appearing to them in the other world as being very bright and shiny. So learning skills around raising your vibration so that they can't see you anymore, or they can't affect you anymore. So doing a lot, there's so much to learn, like qigong, meditation, starting with that, like upping your vibration so that it's higher, so that they don't, not that you have a low vibration, but you want to go so high in your spiritual journey that they just don't bother with you anymore. And that's a process. It takes, like, you know, everyone's different, but it does work. I've been there in exactly like that. And also when I was being shown by the negative ETs, their timeline, they were communicating with me, but what I noticed was that they would communicate with fear. So they would try to elicit a fear response often, and then they would seem to feed off of that. So yeah, with astral projection, I would say like working up to that. So first of all, just asking for your protection, your guides, your ETs, whoever you're working with, asking for them to show themselves and help you in your dream space, and then asking to be shown and guided. And that's where you start. And then meditating, just field meditations. So like meditating into the conscious field or the rainbow field, the field of everything. So trying to access that field and go accessing it on a regular basis, and then asking for your guides to work with you, then that's really, really powerful work. And then astral projection will happen naturally as you're doing the work. So you don't even have to really try. You'll just start doing it. And a lot of people are doing it. So it's more like just upping your vibration to a really high level, working with your guides, and going into these fields.
Awesome.
That's my advice.
Wow, that's crazy, because I've never thought that I will be affected by any negative ETs. I know they exist, but I just always know, thinking back to my dreams, or like since I was little, it's always like so scary. But I like my life, it's beautiful and it's like bright. So it's just interesting. Is there any like specific meditation that you recommend to like upgrade your frequency, or do you just recommend do some research on like meditations like that, like on Insight Timer, and just do all sort of things while asking for guidance like that?
Yeah, you know, I can actually I'll give Brian a link to a really good meditation. That was the beginning meditation for me when I started doing contact and really getting a hold of the gifts and learning how to really make this all come together. So it made sense. And that meditation is great. I'm going to send it to him, and then he can post it in the chat, or I can post it in the chat, one of us, or even below the YouTube. We can put that in the links.
I could even send it out to this email list from this group, you know.
Yeah, it's a great starting point. It's an excellent starting point to go into the consciousness field. And then from there, the floodgates open. I would highly recommend getting selenite.
What's that?
So I'm actually going to grab, if you just give me a second, I'm going to grab a piece of selenite. I'm going to show you what it is.
Okay.
And I use crystals for so many things. Sorry, just a sec here. Here we go. So, yeah. So,
Kathy, you said your life is bright and happy. That's good to hear. Good to hear people saying that.
Yeah, I
There you go.
manifested my dream, like work, job, everything. So it's all good. Yeah. Oh,
So this
that
is
looks great.
selenite. Selenite is very cheap. It has these strands. I don't know. It's pretty hard to see it in the camera. Put this
That's
under your
good.
pillow at night, and this will stop everything. This is an angelic frequency stone. Nothing. It clears other stones. It never needs to be cleaned, and this will keep negative things out of your dream space while you're developing it. I mean, it is not foolproof, right? But this really helps. It's helped so many people, and a lot of meditators and people who are working in those realms use crystals. We use many different tools for protection. So that you can't really see it, but it's quite beautiful. Actually, it's very beautiful. So.
Yeah, I can kind of see. And it worked for you?
Oh yes, I actually was starting to morph into a piece of selenite when I was getting those attacks. Like over time, I was like able to morph myself into the energy of it. So it was like really helping because I guess I was sort of anchoring off of that selenite that was under my pillow.
Awesome.
Because yeah, we all get attacks. These are difficult times for these dark ETs. They're hanging on for dear life, trying to feed off of people's negative energy, and
yeah,
I think they get into these multi-dimensional. I think they already live in another dimension, but they look for food. It's like they just go look for somebody to scare while they're sleeping, especially
Crystal,
kids.
you mentioned the word loosh. Want to tell the audience what loosh means? How do you spell that?
I don't know how to spell that, honestly, Brian. Yeah, I don't know how it's spelled, but I know the concept is not, I didn't make it up. It's, I think that there's been many people who've talked about this concept of loosh. So loosh being people's psychic telekinetic energy, their energy from their body, but also from their mind and spirit. So that energy sort of condenses, comes out the top of the crown chakra. And when you have a parasitic being, because there's a lot of them, it's not just AI or ETs, there's also parasitic multidimensional beings that are, you know, from here or whatever. So yeah, when something attaches, it will try to affect your mind to make you start having a negative experience in your dream space. And then they steer it towards a terrifying experience, and they literally feed off of you like a parasite from another dimension while you're getting.
So these beings, are they
trained.
largely reptilian, or are they the main ones, or is a whole number of different ones besides the dark reptilians?
I've only ever seen the reptilians twice. I've seen actually 3 times. I've seen one in a meditation. I saw one when I went public, and I saw another one outside of a portal. So the reptilians to me are not the major players in this. There's more going on, and I've never been able to see their physical body. I think I've talked about this many times. I have never gotten like a solid physical form from whatever it is. I have seen multidimensional beings, but they weren't necessarily part of this global like crisis or whatever we're going through, this existential crisis. They're just kind of like, you know, just like shadow people or something. And they, some of them may be ETs, some may be from somewhere else, other dimensions. So you know, there's so much going on in the multiverse. Like, it's really hard to put my finger on one. I just know, like, if something's parasitic, it will affect you. And people who get sleep paralysis, that's really common. Sleep paralysis is almost always some form of contact with something that's not in this dimension.
Can you tell who is a reptilian or like a lizard person? They're not all bad. Like I saw on TikTok, Justin Bieber, like Adele, and like so many other like female celebrities or like lizard people. But can you actually tell just by
yeah? I mean, I don't think I've ever met a lizard person, although I have a friend who swears that he's been randomly, like, say, at an event, like a concert or something, and somebody will come up and they'll be talking to him, and he says his eyes have morphed into lizard. So he may have had the DNA, and he's a great person, super spiritual man, definitely not like an evil lizard person. So there could just be genetics in people. I'm sure those bloodlines have gone far and wide. Like I think I even have reptilian like Rothschild's bloodlines going back. So, I mean, we could all have reptilian in us, you know?
Chris, are you aware of a Rothschild like family history, a relative?
Oh, no, I don't. I just know that without going into like so much personal details, I just know that on my father's side of the family, they were elite, like high society back, you know, a really, really long time ago in England and Wales. And there was marrying into the Rothschilds family. So a very good chance that some of my abilities even maybe come from reptilian. Definitely Greys, but I think we have so much alien DNA, all of us. Oops, sorry.
We're just going to ask on behalf of the Preparing for Alien Contact if you could, you know, donate $1 trillion to us and really get us going with our editing work and our thumbnails and stuff, you know, promotion.
Yeah, okay, sure, no problem. Can I write you like an IOU?
Well, internet banking's fine, no problem.
Okay.
I'm
right.
sorry. Hey, we still have Cynthia with her hand up here. I just wanted to get to Cynthia.
Hi, just first about the whole reptilian thing. My daughter told me maybe well over a decade ago that I morphed into a reptile in front of her. So, you know, whatever that, you know, it freaked me out. I asked her what drugs she was on. Like, I was like, well, you know, that was a long, long, long time ago. So, because I said, I thought reptiles were bad. But anyway, so I just to mention that. But I actually wanted to speak to Bruce. Is Bruce still there? Because
Hey, Bruce, you're listening, Bruce? Are you there? He could just be 3 feet away.
Oh,
Hang on, I'm just eating my dinner.
okay. I don't know whether this is along the lines of what you were speaking about or not, but I know that not with remote viewing, but when I am getting, for years, I would meet somebody, you know, and all of a sudden I would get this flood of information going through me because somebody was wanting to contact this person. So, I mean, I've been doing this for decades. So, and I often wondered, how do I know that the information, and it doesn't just relate to that, but also other circumstances where I'm getting information and I don't know whether the information is accurate or not. And over time, what started to happen was from head to toe, I would get, it's almost like, you know, when your hair stand up and you get this, what's it called? I just get this shot of energy throughout my entire body where you, forgive me, I have these brain freezes where I can't bring the words up, but and that became the confirmation for me. I knew, and then having tested it, when that happened in my body, I knew the truth had been told, and from that point on, the information that I was getting, I could trust. I don't know whether that's along the same lines of what you're speaking about in terms of confirmation about information that you're receiving or not.
I know that's helpful as well. And I guess it's just one more thing to tell people what can be used as reference points.
Yeah.
For this information. Because I also do get people who get, and myself, you say a lot of negative stuff when you do psychically go in. Are you supposed to tell people this stuff? Is it just flotsam that's just been coming into your psychic awareness? And, you know, so I guess that's the thing is, how do you make, you know, then you have to sift through this and go, okay.
That's right. You have to interpret it. And what you're saying is accurate, because sometimes I've just met these people for the first time. So I'll always preface it with, you know, you may find this unsettling, you may find it odd, and you can tell me you don't want me to speak and you don't want to hear about it, because I only want to move forward if you're interested and I have your permission, right? And then I'll proceed, right? Usually pretty quickly, I'll be getting information that I have no way of knowing, and they're shocked. It's like totally, you know, but they usually all, I don't think I've ever been shut down. So there's usually a very important message that's coming through for them. But even in other circumstances where I'm getting information that doesn't relate to a specific person, how I know now is my whole body just, it's like your hair standing up from head to toe. It's just undeniable, and that confirms it for me now.
Part of it is also isn't to confirm it for yourself, it's to get you to confirm it for them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's an exchange, because I always say, you know, guide me, tell me, does this, you know, do you have an aunt by the name of Penelope who has a horse in Romania? I mean, sometimes it gets that specific and they'll go, holy shit, let's pardon my, how did you know that? So it is, you know, they confirm it, because that's how I know how to weave through the information I'm getting, is by this exchange and communication. Yeah, yeah. But I know what you're saying. It's like, am I embellishing myself and stuff? But I've cleared that out, because the ego can't be present when you're doing this. So there can't be any ego there. Otherwise doesn't happen, right? You're just a vessel, right? So I now acknowledge and empower the information that's coming to me, and believe that I'm at least it's meant to be. So the next is their permission, or, you know, and yeah, as I said, I've never been shut down as a result. So
I think for a lot of this stuff, though, the information, especially when I've gotten it from a quote unquote good medium, is usually still clumsy. So I don't think anybody can ever get their ego out of the way with any of this stuff. So anytime I've seen stuff come from good mediums, it's still their interpretation of how they were given the information, how they interpreted that information. So it's a tough thing to kind of weed through at one point or other. And, you know, I am always cautious with anything anybody gets from a psychic reading. And, you know, I always tell them, wait for a bit. How does it feel? Don't act on this right away. Let's see how this plays out. All of this stuff, because, you know, it's interesting. It's an interesting process to do this. So that's why I was just thinking, it isn't also for me to what I'm anchoring for what I get. It's just that they themselves already got the message that I'm giving them. How do they go into that space and trust it? What kind of reference points do they know that they're connecting? And everybody has their own little spin on this thing. Some see certain things, some see a certain image when they meditate. Some see somebody or feel somebody standing to their right, you know. And so I usually get it where it's sort of almost a surprise. I have to think about it for a while, then I can kind of see it. It's like looking into one of those images that you have to unfocus your eyes, and you can only see the image in the picture if you unfocus your eyes and sort of, you know, distance yourself a bit. So it's almost kind of like doing that in a way. That's why I asked Crystal, just for, I guess it's just polling everybody to see what they come up with. So
yeah, now see, I don't see things in visions, which is very weird. I've never seen things in visions. I see things with words. So my whole mediumship, and I'm not talking about, I'm just talking about information that I just get bombarded with from the ethos, right? That comes to me when I'm in the presence of someone, but it's always words. For me, it comes as words. It's words. It's also my mediumship, because you know, I as an advocate, you know, I have to prepare cases for people. So it's all about writing. That's my cerebral thing. It comes through words, never pictures for me. So, and I'm not probably as developed as you are. I mean, I've had some remote viewing experiences, but in the realm that you're talking about, I have no experience or understanding of that. Mine was just, it just is what has occurred with me my entire life. So I was just sharing that, because it took decades for me to get when I was on the right track. So
yeah, no, it's an acquired taste, and thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guess we get back to our guest, Crystal. You want to
Sorry,
comment on that, Crystal? There's always more questions.
Sure. Yeah. I was going to say I'm also a medium, and I also do remote viewing. So I combine all of those things. I work with the police. I find missing people. I can find them. I'm pretty accurate. And I just thought I'd speak to that from my own experience. Just recently, I was given a case by my spirit guides, I guess, and it was a missing person from a festival that I actually had been at. And so the way that the information came in was that I looked at the picture, at the photograph of the person. And so that's how I can find them, is I look at their picture, and then what I do is I wait and don't think into it at all. I do not think at all. And I wait and I wait. It can take an hour. It can take 2 hours. It can take 10 seconds. It's different for each energy signature that we're tuning into. So for me, when I'm finding a missing person, I look at their picture and then I wait. And that one took a long time. It took over an hour of staring at the picture, but I did get repeated image in my mind. So I'm a seer. I see, my strongest gift is through sight. Sometimes it'll come in as sight and words. So I'll see the words. So each person has a different strength, and the beings that work with us, our spirit guides and the spirit world and the multidimensional, the multiverse knows your strengths and will send you your strengths, send you information in your strongest way of interpreting it. So I just felt like it was, it's really individualized to people. But because they did do a lot of genetic modification to us, some of us are almost like directly linked to beings that are from other dimensions. So they'll be able to get a hold of us more easily. They have almost like a direct line into our DNA, and our DNA is really what is vibrating interdimensionally. So they are able to communicate with, I mean, I think all humans have alien DNA for sure, but this was a special hybrid program. And I also have Irish background, so I can say for sure that Irish connection, there's something really important there with that Irish connection directly related to the hybrid program. And that the hybrids that are coming through have all the skills, all the abilities. They have all of it, all of them. So everything, telepathic, remote viewing, mediumship, like being able to see the future. And then some have really specific, like for me, it was collective. The other one was finding missing children and people. So like some people have like specifics, right? That collective messages is one. So working on the collective, having messages for the collective, sharing messages with the collective, and eventually teaching the collective. And so that's another one. But we're given so many, like we are capable of so much more than what we think we're capable of on many levels. Like you could have 100 jobs in a day. Like what do you think the AETs do? They're busy. They are very busy. So as we like step up in these skills and we develop them, then we're going to be doing things that we never imagined. We're going to be busier than we could ever even imagine, but it's all positives. It's all our natural state. So yeah, there's just like, there's so much going on right now, and it's just so interesting, and it's so neat to hear other people sharing what they're experiencing. Like,
yeah, this is a good meetup right now. This is good. You never know who's going to show up, right? Just instead of me and Crystal 13.5 months ago, we just did a video with the two of us, but it's great with a group. But I'm going to ask you, Crystal, this woman you found, was this from the recent Electric Love Music Festival? The woman went missing there?
No.
Oh.
No, it was from a different music festival. I just don't really want to go into it too much, just for privacy reasons and whatnot.
But did you find her? Was she alive?
No, he's not. I know where he is, but I can't get to him, so it's just difficult because the roads are closed over there. So I brought some people with drones and stuff, and that's still in process, like of being officially uncovered right now, because it's in a location that we just can't get to without a team, like, and going deep into the bush. So,
okay, I want to ask you a question. You mentioned about when we changed from hunter-gatherers to farming. And Richard Dolan often talks about the 4 stages of humanity, and the first was hunter-gatherers. And he was saying that maybe the human brain was designed to be hunter-gatherers in small communities. Then we had farming and cities. Maybe our brains aren't built to be in these big cities with millions of people. Do you want to comment on that? But you mentioned a dark force would start to take over. That would make sense, because with farming, there's organization. With organization, evil can creep in, like a fifth column. Can you tell us more about that? What happened from hunter-gathering to communities? How did the dark side get in?
So the dark side came here when we were primitive and set up the world that we know now. So they showed up because they knew exactly when the right time was to show up for us. So I think my theory is that we were already genetically modified. We had maybe multiple civilizations' DNA put into us. I think we were an original project for different civilizations. And then I think they were like peacefully, gently watching us evolve and studying us. And then what I think happened was that another rogue, negative ET race, whether they're AI or a combination of AI and some other ETs, definitely formless, definitely not specifically reptilian, but could have other factions. They showed up right when we were at a stage that was critical in our evolution. And they basically enslaved us and created themselves to be gods and us to be their serfs. And they created pyramids and they created a grid. For sure, if you guys...
So are the pyramids done by the dark side or the good side?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
You should read a book called The Grid of the Gods.
Yeah.
It's by Joseph P. Farrell. He also wrote another book called The Giza Death Star, but he proves what I'm telling you. The ETs told me this, but he's proving this, the grid of the gods. It was a dark grid. He proves that. He says the same thing I'm saying, but he has a lot of scientific evidence to back it up. It's a very good book.
Okay. Well, Kathy Dew is next. She's got a hand up.
I actually want to address that and more like religion, pyramid, and things like that. I think, I don't know if you guys read the book called Abduction to the Ninth Planet. It talks about, I highly recommend it. It basically explains like everything. Basically it talks about how this guy, he passed away already. It was written in 1996, the year I was born, and how he was invited to one of the highest planets, like the highest beings in the ninth planet. They call Jehovah. Those aliens invited him there and taught him all about the mysteries, the things that we always want to know, the truth to the universe and humanity, and about Jesus. Jesus was sent by them, and they put their consciousness into the body, and it was like a project to raise human consciousness, and it was a critical time that people needs to know certain things, so like that. So I'm just wondering whether you know that. And yeah, because basically I'm atheist, I'm not religious, and I always know there's more to that, so that makes sense to me. And it also explains how pyramids, they were built by civilizations who migrated onto Earth, and we were not like born on Earth. We were like, there's so many different migrations from different stars to Earth, and they built the pyramid to control like weather, to communicate with other extraterrestrials on different other planets, and also just like it's like a place where your energy is like connects with everything, and there's a lot of good that comes from it. So I also recommend Gaia, like Gaia.com. Like if you don't know that already, I learned so much about the universe from there. You have to pay like $15 for prescription to watch all of those shows, movies about government secret things, to contacts with ET and things like that. So I just want to share that. And I also just want to add on to that, because I see that you're a Christian. So I just wonder, if you know about Jesus, the book that they talked about, it really makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I am a Christian. It was my first experience of spirituality, but over the past 20 something years, I've had visions that are exactly matching with the Bible. Like I've seen the second coming of Christ. I've seen the manifestation of heaven on earth. I've seen everything like in Revelations. I think that maybe I was with Jesus in a past life, and I know for sure that Jesus was a hybrid. that's my theory, but I'm like pretty darn sure that he was a hybrid. And so they sent one hybrid back then, which was him. And he was a really, really powerful presence with a really divine soul. Now they've sent 33 million hybrids. So imagine, oh, I have goosebumps. Okay, so imagine the frequency of the planet when you have, I'm not comparing any of us to Jesus, but I'm just saying that there's very high level souls who are able to affect the world in a much more positive way. And these ETs, for sure, they know what they're doing. I think that I think you're right. Yeah, I think there's so much going on.
There's so much. And then they said that the Bible is nothing but a record of history, which has been altered multiple times by people like, those church people that they want to control others with their own theories. They modified it. And then the book actually talks about the parts that are true and the parts that are inaccurate. So it's very interesting when you said the Bible actually predicts, it's like a prophecy. I'm like, oh, interesting. I thought it's just, like a record of history. And also so basically, yeah, Jesus, long story short, they can create a human body with their technology. They could just create a human body, like an adult body. They could put their consciousness in that body, and then they could, come to Earth and be one of us. It's like a project. The first Jesus they sent was born from Maria, the Virgin, which is actually true. But that kid, he has so much wisdom and everything that they wanted to communicate to us, but he doesn't have those abilities. So people don't take him seriously as he reached towards adulthood. So he went to Japan. That's why there's like a Jesus, village, and that's the only village that was religious and, talk about Jesus, and he was buried there. The second project Jesus was, when they created the body and inject their consciousness, and then it was sent as like an adult, like a male. And yeah, so that's what I learned from the book, which is really interesting. And also what I learned from Gaia's shows about aliens was that, sure, there's a lot of like negative ETs, but there are always a different perspective of us. So because we're all one of the consciousness, and we all represent different aspects of us, so of the soul. So when you see negative ETs, they're here because there's parts of us that reflects that part. So it's just interesting how you could shift from fear and anger towards, oh, okay, compassion, that makes sense. When you change, maybe they will leave too. And many of them were being shifted towards higher dimension, while we ascend. So just something very interesting to share.
Yeah, and actually that's really neat that you mentioned that, because the ETs told me, again, I had a 12-hour abduction. So a lot of the stuff that I share with you guys is from like direct on a ship with a little gray and like, them telling me what was going on, and me just being like,
were you conscious? Like, did you recall it when you got back, or do you recall
I
years
was
later?
like dropped off. I didn't have to do any regression. I remembered the whole thing.
When was that? Was that like the 2010? 2010, yeah, I remember you told us about that.
That's a big one, yeah. But they had said something really interesting. They said basically like that we were waking up, and that most of these negative ETs had already left. They said there's only like 400 left on the planet right now who are doing what they're doing. So there's
I remember Jeff said there's a natural process. They'll just leave without a big war or fight. He said they're just kind of leaving at some point.
They are leaving. Yeah, they're leaving.
Yeah.
That's what the ETs told me. There used to be millions of them. Now there's only 400 of them left.
It's good to get that corroboration with other seers. That's good to hear.
Yeah. So, and now it's even less. Now they're down like even lower. I would say there's barely any of them left now.
I'm feeling more optimistic. That's good to hear. Thank you. We should do another visit, Chris. You want to come back, do another meetup with us sometime? People are already asking in the chat. Cynthia had to leave, so she said, "Bye." So when's Crystal coming back? When's Crystal coming back?
Yeah, of course I'll come back. I would love to. You guys are great.
We'll do it. Yeah.
I just see a question in the chat. Let me just see this here. Why are they leaving? Are they bored? Oh, yes. No, they don't have any food. That's why. Because as we project love and kindness and joy and a positive frequency, they starve. They starve. They feed off of our negative. They don't even eat food like we do. You know, they eat us, basically our negative energy, war, famine, and then going into the dark stuff, the dark arts, like the crazy dark stuff, you know, where they do terrible things to children and they do terrible things to people and they sacrifice animals and whatever. All of that is food for them. So it's when none of that is happening, when it's all been exposed, which is happening now, it's all being exposed, then their whole little playground or farm or whatever, it's falling apart. They just won't have anything to eat. They won't be able to sustain themselves off of us anymore.
That question was from Mike, one of our assistant organizers. Mike, you want to turn on your camera? Same hi. Appreciate all of your countless hours of volunteer work, editing videos.
Yeah, hi. How are you guys?
Good.
Hi.
How about your camera? Can you turn on your camera?
Yeah, is it on?
He exists
Yeah.
and he got a haircut. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, I was just wondering, the ETs like Apexians, are they like just creatures without souls? I know humans have souls, but I don't know if the Greys have any souls. That's what I heard.
Oh, Greys definitely have souls. Yes, for sure. Now I'm not 100% sure that all Greys are good and that and all reptilians are bad, or I think that there's definitely like choices, like each of us can choose. Like we could be terrible human beings if we wanted to. We could worship Satan and we could like go into the dark side, but we, you know, we're not all like, we have free will. I think that's the same with the ETs, but definitely the Greys are not AI, but there is an AI faction. I think they're the ones that I've been seeing who are formless. They don't have a form, and I don't know if they have souls. I almost feel like they're an AI, like a civilization out there accidentally created an advanced AI race, and that AI got loose from their planet and is trying to replace God. And it's been going across the universe because it was on an ocean. I was, again, direct contact from the Greys. They said it was on an ocean world before it was here, destroying that world. So it goes, whatever it is, it's going from world to world, trying to replace God. So I don't know if it has a soul or if it's just trying to create, like, it's like, I know it's some kind of an AI thing for sure, but I'm not sure, like, what is, you know, maybe the AI is so advanced that it can create its own realities too, right? Like, I don't know. It's very advanced, I think. Maybe it could, I don't know if it has a soul. I don't think it does, but it's really hard to know.
You know, even Susie Hansen, she stated, I think she said a Gray told her that there's an interloper species of Gray, which are a problem. So she's quite a high authority to me. So yeah, not all Greys are good, even according to Susie Hansen.
Yeah. And not all reptilians are bad either.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and not all Nordics are good, or, you know, I think it's really up to, I think that the divine intelligence that created all of us gives us free will and gives us a choice what we want to manifest or become or serve. Like, if you want to serve, which polarity you want to be, good or bad, or light or darkness, or
I like the way Susan, Linda Moulton Howe, she often says on her show, you know, on Earth Files, she says that the yin and yang is all over the universe, like black and white are right next to each other, always right next to the other, good and bad are together in the same place, you know.
Yeah,
that seems to be the way it is.
Yeah, they say each of us, there's the bright and the dark, and it's not necessarily one is better than the other. We need both to see the whole perspective. So sometimes we reincarnate as like a brighter being. Sometimes we choose to experience the darker being, and everything is just an experience. So like when you see, oh, the Greys, there's like bad ETs, there's bad reptilians. Well, they're also you in a sense. So.
Mhm.
which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then when I made contact and I was trying to talk to them, like, because I had been abducted by them and I had this weird awakening around that. And then I was like, I want to talk to them. So I started going through my own process of learning how to do that. And the first thing that they made me do was sit down and draw a picture of a yin yang. And it was so clear. It was like, sit down, draw this, and this is your first
Wow.
teaching.
So the Chinese probably got us from alien wisdom or some ancient alien wisdom. That's probably where they got it from, right?
Yeah. And then I got a new teaching recently where they said, okay, some of you in the spiritual community believe that duality disappears when you go up into higher realms. And they were like, that's not true. It doesn't. And I was like, okay, so the whole theory about duality disappearing as we become more enlightened. And I got a teaching saying the only place that duality disappears is when we're in oneness and in union with the highest. So like when we go to source, when we don't really have a physical form. So like when we're dead or when we go to heaven or whatever you want to call it, whatever people believe, like when you're one with God, then there's no duality. But in physical form, in lifetimes, in bodies, there's always duality, even if you're in the 11th dimension and you're like a pure light being.
I just want to comment on that from a Buddhist perspective. I've been a Buddhist teacher since 1996. And in my book, Short Walk on Ancient Path, available on Amazon, on page 123, I've got the Buddhist cosmology. Buddha actually describes that, like the first 6 heavens of the central sphere. It's hard to see here. The lower heavens. Buddha said there's this duality, like good and bad, like Mara is like the evil one in Buddhist cosmology, lives right up in the 6th heaven of the central sphere. But the Buddha does say beyond that, in the fine material sphere and formless sphere, the Brahmas at that level, they're all good, they're all wholesome. You don't have this good and bad, but that's very, very high level at the Brahma sphere. That's sort of orthodox Theravada Buddhism.
Interesting.
So it's a lot of you guys are Christians. I just thought I'd throw in a Buddhist perspective.
I think that's up to us to decide whether or not the good or the bad is good for us. I think that's a big part of it. We come across to saying, well, we're going to do good all the time, but we can't do good all the time. Sometimes things fall apart and we're affected by the bad. Is that duality there to make us learn that it not necessarily okay, but to have bad happen, but shit happens and you have to realize that life goes on. You can't throw your hands up in the air and say, okay, I give up, I'm defeated. You still have to be involved in both good and bad, no matter where you are, what you're doing, or when that is, always.
Yeah, and it's a gift. It is a gift. It pushes you to see the other one. It's like if you're in extreme pain, then when you're relieved of that pain, it's extreme, that you can't have one without, like, you need friction for experience.
I guess you have to be brave enough to face them both at the same time. It's not easy.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that any of us are balanced if we only live in the light all the time.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that we're not going to have light all the time. Shit happens. Life isn't that pleasant sometimes, and we have to realize that we have to drag ourselves through the mud. And when we do, and we get up on our feet again, it's okay. It's just mud.
Yeah.
I just want to comment for Kathy. She mentioned Gaia TV. In case you're new to it, just want to say there is a lot of disinformation in the whole UFO world and UFO community. Gaia TV, they charge and they got to keep people entertained. And they've had, for instance, Corey Good on there, who's been largely discredited to make all these incredible claims of his 20 and back program. And Gaia TV had him going for years.
Oh,
And Jay Widener, one of the actual producers of Gaia TV, is really critical of Corey Good.
You're saying it depends on what you choose to be enlightened.
exactly.
Very often, you're not going to find enlightenment just anywhere. You have to choose where.
I was just about to post this when you mentioned, like, I just posted that now. So I think for some reason I just happened to bump into shows. Like, there's so many different. There's everything on Gaia. Like, some like not as credible ones, some more credible ones. I saw this initiation with like Matthias De Stefano as like a host, and he basically remembers all of his past lives and in this lifetime, and he think it's a gift. So he talks all about the origin of the universe and what happened in Atlantis, the Mu, just like everything. I sort of just like take information from one place to another, not necessarily just like all attached to one source. But there's so many good things that I found on there that I do believe connects with what I learned from.
Yeah, there is good stuff. Yeah, I mean, you just have to be discerning, but there is good stuff. There
I
has to
think
be.
Gaia is really good. There's some great stuff. Like,
Really good.
is her name Meredith? She has this talk show. It's just so good. I feel like it's called Open Minds with Meredith something, or she talks about everything, from Bigfoot to ETs to ghosts to mediumship. Oh, the Gaia is really good.
Yeah, they've had some of my favorite people too, like Richard Dolan, Linda Moulton Howe's been on there. So they have some of my favorite speakers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's people like you, Crystal, too. Like they channel, ETs, their messages and answer questions from humans. Just like there's so many. There's galactic messages where this girl sends email to people from the Pleiades. They're called I forgot what they're called, like the name of their race. But it's just very informative and it's really interesting. Yeah.
One thing I'd watch out for though is dissing the gray. Some people say like now they have this guy, he's an awakened star seed. He gets like 150,000 videos per, because he's very good looking. And he says, 98% of the grays are all dark and 2% are struggling towards the light. So if they're really dissing the grays, I'd say that's a red flag.
Yeah.
You know what? I noticed something really interesting lately is that the people who are true spiritual teachers, they don't have hundreds of thousands of followers.
You're right. You're right.
They're censored a lot. All the spiritual teachers who are like major, who have millions of followers, they're all selling us out and talking about the narratives. They're it's almost like it's set up for us to just have these puppets. Even their puppets. Even
I
some of the
agree.
spiritual
I agree.
teachers. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
true.
So it's just little groups like this. It's just little bits where we all take that information and we share it with each other in other groups, and we just share it quietly. And this movement it's been like ground roots from the beginning. It's just small, but it's not small anymore but it started really small,
And consider like Suze Hansen, she got this like publicly, so like 1975, she discovered, she's only got like less than 2,000 subscribers on the Suze Hansen YouTube channel. And she was saying in a recent video, she was saying that she has to pay her own flights to go to a conference like in the States. Like she's this little fish, but I think she's like one of the most credible people, been on the craft, actually showing us what the society and culture of the Greys are like. And Jeff Selver, our fellow here in Vancouver, he sold some books, but he's largely being ignored, like really genuine people.
A lot of us are silenced. When I first went public, I went with you guys, and then the second video I ever did was on the Linda Moulton House show. And that, as soon as I did that video, I had my phone ringing in the middle of the night. Even when it was on flight mode, it would ring, which is super creepy. I had black helicopters showing up. I was being scared intentionally to be quiet.
Well, I'm sorry, Chris, I introduced you to Linda Moulton Howe, but it was worth it. It was worth it. I think you got like 100,000 hits.
I'm still here.
Yeah, you're being protected from above.
I know I'm being protected. I was told that, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Whatever I said, it really set off in a lot. And so imagine like me, I'm not famous. I'm just a regular person. Now imagine if they did that with everyone. And you know what? There were other group members that I knew who also were attacked in different ways when they went public with their information in different groups or in this group. So we had this movement like behind the scenes, insidious thing where as soon as you start talking about aliens, something tries to scare you away from it and makes you want it, And so I remember, we had some weird stuff going on. Even remember the police officer that knocked on the window while I was doing my presentation. Do you remember that, Brian?
Yeah, that's right.
You were pretty brave, Crystal. I know you were scared, but you were still brave. Oh, you still got the dogs.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Quiet, Gizmo.
The dog is
Well, you
Zoom
know what?
bombing us.
I was like, if I'm truly protected, then nothing's gonna happen to me, and this is important. So
Where we choose to speak should be everywhere. And those
Ryan, you're brave too, you know.
and those who don't let that happen, although they're not ourselves, there's still something to pay attention to. And it's a shame because it's defensive when you get like that, when you have to hold back and you say, oh, should I say this or can I say this? I wish we could all be much more open. Now, those persons or beings that are doing that, trying to keep a lid on things, I think it's important to know who you're dealing with more than anything. And I've learned a lot from Brian in that. So to enlightenment, might we all be introduced to that idea? Blah, blah, blah.
What I do is I just keep hiding. Now I'm in my cabin in Whistler here. I'm in my bedroom here. They'll never find me here.
Nice. Very nice, man.
I have to confess, I took a bit of the donations from Preparing for Alien Contact meetup to get this cabin, but Lisa financed the virtual background here for Zoom.
That's all right.
So yeah, it's I think a lot of us are brave too, because I'm not the only one out of this group that's had
No.
problems or had threats or had
I've
strange
seen it in others.
experiences.
I'm just saying I've seen it in others.
Yeah,
You're
hey,
not the
I
only
know.
one. It's what I like about this channel or other places that I go is when you see that raw bravery or that coming out type of thing, they want to say something. There's a lot of people who Brian has had on his channel who have been attacked, and yet they're still coming back and they're still speaking their truth, right? And that's so important to them because they're being suppressed, because they're being put down. They have to keep on speaking. Otherwise, they might as well just go away into a corner somewhere and never turn their back. You know, just stay in that corner.
Well, Barry, listen, when you started with us, you had a reptilian in your apartment. Remember that? I wonder if they were
that was
after
well
you.
after. Yeah. That's my only claim to fame, but I remember that vividly. And I don't think about it all the time, but it was real to me. And it was important, you know, because I had associated with you guys and I was learning these things. And all of a sudden, this guy shows up in my apartment, doesn't look at me. And all I did, you probably heard this before, Crystal, all I did was say no. That's it. Nothing more. All I said was no. And I remember waking up to that, me saying no. I don't know whether I said it out loud or whatever, but all of a sudden I was awake. I was shivering. I don't think I was shivering. I was sweaty and I was scared. And I had said no. And I don't know, I didn't even know what it was about, right? But I saw this guy. I don't know whether I had my eyes half closed just before I said no. And I remember it vividly. I remember I should learn to draw and draw that for everybody.
Yeah, you should draw it out, Bear. You should draw it out. Yeah.
But the way they were huddled down, I didn't like the whole thing.
How come nobody bothers me? I think maybe I'm just not really, I'm a normie. I'm not like someone like Crystal with these abilities, but I just do my thing. I guess I'm protecting my own way, but nobody's bothering me. 9 million hits, nobody bothers me.
I'm more of a normie than you are. You stick your neck out a lot more.
Well, I've never had a reptilian in my apartment. Gee.
That's not because anything to do with me. That just happened. What's that, Crystal?
Oh, I was just gonna say maybe they're around you, you just can't see them yet.
Yeah, I don't see stuff. I think, well, I've had a sense of the Buddhist Deva invocation practice, like Devas, so the angels, some presence of that. Yeah. I don't think of it as ET, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. I have to let my dog out and I've got to eat, and I also have to get up early, so I'm going to.
Yeah, we planned
Wrap it
for
up
2
here.
hours, so so really we should all have a little applause for Crystal. So open up your mics and we'll say thank you, Crystal.
Aw,
Hi, Ralph.
guys.
This was a really good talk. You never know. It depends who shows up, and good slideshow. And thank you for your wisdom and knowledge, Crystal. And please come back. We'll book another time for you.
Thank you. All right. It was nice to see everybody and nice to see the new faces that have I guess, I don't know, it's a different group. So it's exciting to meet new people as well and see familiar faces. And yeah.
People
guys
should
are great.
show themselves, but this isn't any big deal. People should show themselves. Hello, I want to be your friend. Right on. Anyways, thanks, Crystal. Appreciate
Bye,
it.
Thank you,
guys.
Crystal. Okay.
See you.
Thank you.
Shut her down, Bry.
Well, I guess we could. Should we shut it down? Just want to say hi to Mike. Glad you could come, Mike.
Mike was on. How
I
about
can,
Paul?
I can turn off the recording here.